Hello, I'm professional attorney and very much amateur musician Scott Lesowitz, and today I will be discussing drummers and songwriting credit. As you probably know, there's this pretty strong tradition that drummers do not receive songwriting credit if all they do is come up with a drum part and record it. And the question for this video is that really the appropriate custom? I'm not necessarily giving answers here, but especially at a time when the number of songwriters receiving a little bit of songwriting credit has ballooned, has inflated, perhaps the drummer should be getting a little bit of love and getting a little bit of the songwriting credit, even if it's just a small share. So what I do in this video is, first I give a little bit of the legal background. Second is I go through Rick Beato's list of the 20 greatest drum fill videos and see how many of those songs did the drummer receive songwriting credit, because presumably those are all, and I mean they are all iconic drum parts that should, if something's going to get songwriting credit, it should be those. Those should be sufficiently creative and original to receive, copyright protection for the drum part. And then I'm going to look at a couple of recent examples. So let's look at this little bit of a legal background here. So musicians are generally free to enter into signed agreements where they decide on the breakdown of songwriting credit, if any, for the various musicians or band members. And virtually any musicians with any sophistication or success will enter into these agreements. However, simplified a bit, if there's no signed agreement, it's been the attitude of commentators in courts that drum parts will often, if not usually, be too generic to satisfy the originality requirement, but there are indeed cases that find that drum parts are sufficiently creative to receive copyright protection. In one case, the court found that it would not decide there was no copyright infringement as a matter of a law, so it allowed it to go to the jury. Basically, it would not throw it out before a trial. In a case where the plaintiff alleged that the defendant copied their drum part in their new song, and the drum part was only one measure long, now granted it was repeated throughout both songs, and the court said that no, we're not going to throw it out even though it's only one measure, and also the two drum parts were not identical. They were very similar but not identical. Now, I'm not saying that I agree with that case. I think the judge actually should have thrown it out and found no infringement as a matter of law, but the point is that courts will, at least at times, find drum parts sufficiently creative to at least allow a jury to decide if there's infringement. Part of the video, I looked at the copyright registration on 19 of the 20 songs on Rick Beato's Best Drum Fills of All Time video. And I assume, by the way, the guitarist and the singer are not telling the drummer what to play on these. Okay, so of the remaining 19 songs, the drummers only received writing credit on 7 of them. So I would like to look at how common it is for new bands, relatively new bands or new musicians on major labels, to how often they give songwriting credit to the drummer. The issue here, though, is it's hard to find new major recordings that have real drums on them. I know, and human drums, really. And that, I know that there are, but I want major groups, not just like weird prog rock groups I listen to. So I wound up looking at one example I found, and that's the drummer Aaron Sterling for his performance on Post Malone's album F1 Trillion, and Drumeo nominated that performance for Best Drum Performance of 2024. So presumably it's good, it's original. And there were 2 songs on the album that had over 100 million streams on Spotify. One is When I Had Some Help, the other was Pour Me a Drink. Well, Aaron Sterling did not receive writing credit for either song, and this is even though 8 people received writing credit for I Had Some Help, and 6 people had writing credit for Pour Me a Drink. So I don't want to get too excited about 2 songs from one album, so what I would appreciate is if you all would leave me suggestions in the comments of songs from relatively new major artists that have good drumming from a real human drummer. And if I get enough examples, I will, I'll make a follow-up video. So thank you very much for tuning in here.